What's up, legends? Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Interchange podcast, and thank you for joining us for another one of the episodes around youth crime. So today I'm joined by a good friend of mine, Gaven Heggs. Gav is doing amazing things in the community when it comes to working with young men and working with kids that might be struggling with youth crime. So let's get stuck into it. Gav, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, mate, who you are, what you do, and I guess why you're here?
Yeah, for sure. And thanks for having me here. So first of all, I sort of have a bit of a background in motocross racing. I had a few incidents when I was younger, and I sort of was on the path of going into a high level of racing, but coaching and mentoring at the same time. And I was quite young, sort of around the age of 15. So for me, it all started off when I was young, anyway. So it was quite easy for me to be able to relate and to be that was in our sport. So
yeah.
So for me, I just I could see a lot of the insights to the younger generation of how they were approaching things and what was happening in our sport, and also outside of it from an outsider's point of view. You look on the news and you sort of see an image that's reflected that's not really what the sport's about and things like that. So
when you say that, like when you see like an image that's reflected like within the sport, what do you mean, bro?
So basically a lot of the news stories that I was seeing at the time, kids going through the street doing wheelies, stealing bikes and doing that type of thing.
Yep. So like these, like I guess you see a lot of it now as well. Like they're talking about these gangs of kids that are out there on
bikes,
electric bikes or even dirt bikes and just hooking through the middle of the street, right?
And coming from someone who sort of lived in a suburban area, I've seen it a lot, but now I'm living in Surfers. I see it every single day, man. So it's it's still something today that I still want to be able to try and change, I suppose, for not only the sport, but also giving better opportunities and stuff like that to be able to point kids in a better direction, to show them the right way to do things, and sort of not just in the area of the niche of our sport, but also as an overall. And sort of that's why I started the journey, to be able to try and help and found a foundation that we could sort of align with, along with also supporting ones like yours that we're trying to get off the ground to try and support these kids that sort of might not have had the best upbringings and stuff like that, to really just go back to the main source of what's caused all of this and really focus on how we can try and push them in a better direction. And just going into what I do is sort of just, that's my niche, so I sort of pinpointed it around that. But that was sort of what started it off anyways. So, and being a coach and a role model, I sort of thought that was my area to be able to target and to try and help our sport in a way. But looking a bit more broad of that now, just, looking to be able to help support things like what you're doing with your event and your challenges and stuff like that you're doing for your foundation that's something that I think there's needed more of support for. So, that's where I'm at now, and, keen to help. So thanks for having me here.
Thank you, bro. No, thanks for giving us a bit of a rundown. Now, something you said there is like you see this youth crime every day. Like you're, in Surface, and obviously you see these kids out there running amok. And for so many of us in the public, we would see, and I'm obviously just like taking like, I guess, a general perspective of this. We will listen to what we see on the media, or listen to what we hear on the media, which is like, these kids are junkies, these kids are pieces of shit. But you've got a different view. Like you're able to see them and go, okay, cool. How can we help these kids? Like, and I guess obviously that's the same place that I come from. But what was it for you that sort of, I guess, shifted the perspective to be able to see these kids as kids? Because that's what they are, right? They're misguided youth. They're children.
Yeah.
They're our children that just need some support. They need some mentoring. They need some good male role models, I think, and obviously, which is something that you're doing for a lot of these young men.
Yeah.
But
sure.
I guess, how did that happen for you? Like to be able to just take a step back and see it from a different place?
Well, some were my mates, so
Gotcha.
you can't really, be too harsh on that. You got to see what's behind it all. And not only that, but also when you're mentoring as well, I suppose, and as a coach, you'd probably also know this, that sometimes you do have to take that step back to really just understand first and know what's going on behind closed doors, or what's happening behind the scenes to cause all of that. Like I've gone through a little bit of just being around that type of environment before and sort of being able to pull myself away from it.
When you say you've gone through a little bit of being in that type of environment, what do you mean? So can you talk into some specific experiences that you might have had when you were younger?
Yeah,
that sort of, I guess, lead into that.
Yeah. So my friend group growing up, some of them were doing all of that type of stuff and going around and stealing cars and being, in that environment of me saying, hold on, this isn't right. I need to pull myself back and away from the situation. That was sort of, I knew exactly from their perspective that that was just something that was natural for them because of what they had with their upbringing and things like that. And for them, it was probably just more of a case of like whatever, like we've spoken about before. And a lot of the research shows that it's something that's happened within their life growing up that's put them into that mental state of feeling like that's their only escape and their
Yeah.
only way of being able to try and feel some sense of, I suppose, freedom or a way of their outlet to get that adrenaline rush. And
Well, that's the thing, right? These kids, like you see them out stealing bikes, they're running from something.
yeah,
They're not on the street because they want it. Like, okay, so I guess it comes to a point where they feel like they need to be.
yeah,
But a lot of these kids, right, they're running from something.
yeah,
You know, whether it be something that's happened at home, whether it be something that's happening in their life,
yeah.
they need an outlet.
And yeah, that's and for me having that outlet my whole life with bikes,
Yeah.
I could say to myself like I've had that, so I didn't feel the need to go and do that other thing, and so then I could just be able to just see and pivot and growing up, it wasn't until I got obviously a little bit further into what I was doing where I realized that that may be the reason why, like it, and then also hearing it from other people, and I suppose more so from the foundations that we were looking in to try and help out with the kids. They've got all the statistics of every single thing of why and how on their websites, and a lot of information I just sort of started researching about, and that sort of just confirmed it all for me. And I suppose was, yeah, like part of my knowledge now is just based off of what I see and hear, and also just a little bit of that past experience. So, and the more you start getting into the conversations with other people, it's all about the same sort of stats and reasons of, it's not just because there's other reasons behind it.
There's actually a root cause behind it, right?
Yeah.
This crime and this, the kids being out stealing cars are really just a symptom of, misguided youth.
Yeah,
They really are.
100%. Yeah.
And so with that being said, look, you've got a lot of experience working with troubled kids now with the, coaching and all that sort of stuff that you do.
Yeah.
Talk into that a little bit more for us. So tell us exactly what it is that you do for these kids and I guess how you watch them shift from, being misguided, being like, fuck the world to then being, you know what, actually I can potentially see this kid being a upstanding member of society. So talk about the experiences you've had in doing that.
So a lot of this is, I suppose, being a little bit more spread out within my industry. They come into it, some of them sort of having that little sense of freedom on the bike initially, and
That escape, right?
yeah, that escape, and I suppose the parents have consistently come back saying they notice a difference in the child's attitude, their child's approach to everything they're doing at school. And for me, like the change in pattern of that was consistent. So it was good for me hearing that kind of feedback, I suppose. And I've just sort of started to work with other areas of like kids with ADHD, kids with all different types of mental health states that this is a real good outlet for them. Been looking into a little bit, not confirmed yet, but just the NDIS side of things as well to try and help with other areas of the mental state and of young kids and their development and how we can try and utilize just getting them involved in riding bikes. We've got some good help now around bike hire and equipment hire and things like that and the ride parks. And all that is an opportunity for them to come and just get that release and figure out how to do it the right way. And so for me, I'm trying to really push that to encourage all the right things and how to do it properly, which is hence our event, what we held the other week. So, and it's really just been a massive learning curve for me too, just trying to figure out how we can help more and how we can try and encourage the right thing and come in and experience that. You're probably going to feel a bit more of a thrill, if anything, riding the bike, and also you can create so many other values from being able to be in an environment with people doing the right things and being able to, I suppose, just surround yourself with better people. That's probably the biggest part about it. Is you start to see a bit better normality to what life can be with having that sort of surrounding. And yeah, it's for me, I suppose, it's still a learning curve as well. So it's still something that I'd like to know more about and still work with people like yourself and other people that have had probably a bit more of a history within it and know really how we can try and approach, I suppose, just being able to get more programs in place and how we can get them all to do different things that are going to allow them to have that escape without doing the wrong thing. So
I think something I'd love to talk into is something you said there, which was about showing these kids that there's actually, like, you know, there's actually other opportunities, right?
Yeah.
Something that you said is like getting them on a bike and showing them there's another way to actually release and have that sort of outlet, right? Because for a lot of these kids, they haven't ever had that before. They haven't ever had any kind of healthy coping mechanism. They haven't had any kind of healthy role model. They haven't had any, like yourself, for instance, being a role model in the lives of these young men. So I guess the fact that you're taking them out of the environment and putting them into a different environment, which is a lot more nurturing, obviously they've still got that edginess, right?
Yeah.
They've still got that adrenaline. Like, you'd be able to see so many of these young men going, like, from, let's just say, not hating life, but just like fuck the world, to being like, this is really cool. Yeah. So why was that something that was so important to you? Why was working with these kids something that became such a mission of yours?
Well, I've had unintentionally riders come or individuals come to me with their parents actually saying, "I want to try this." He enjoys bikes. Obviously, he's had a history with stealing or whatever it is.
So you have a lot of that sort of like parents bringing to you like, "Hey, my kid's been out stealing bikes and doing this sort of shit.
Yeah,
maybe we can get you to help him out."
Yeah.
That's cool.
I had
That's really cool.
I don't actually know if it was just word on the street that it got around and it started growing and getting bigger with that, but like maybe one parent was talking to another and it ended up being the case. But it all started with one, and then all of a sudden I just started getting an influx of these individuals and all different types of scenarios. But yeah, it was just like they'd come to me. First of all, the bike would look like they'd been doing burnouts in the street and things like that. So you could really tell. You didn't.
What's in the back of the back
you didn't need to
tires?
explain anything. You could just see there was just like rubbers up the guard and like it's just like, dude.
When you know, right?
Yeah. So I was just like, okay. So and you could tell that that had come from that background and it was just
the way they carry themselves, right, and the way they present,
yes,
and the energy, right,
yeah. And by the end of it, totally different kid. Like, I remember seeing the smile on his face. Like, he didn't want to. This one individual in particular, he didn't want to show that he was happy and he was chuffed about the whole thing, the session, and how he now can ride a bike properly and be on the track rather than just flying down the street in top gear. And he was just like, he was almost grinning, but he was like, just putting into like this tough face.
He's got that tough guy act on still, right?
Yeah.
Because probably, well, let's just think about it, right? If these kids are out stealing cars, these kids are like stealing bikes, they're hanging around in a bunch of rat bags. Like, emotion is not something you show.
Yeah.
Like, talking to my experience with that, right? In that sort of lifestyle, which is like stealing cars and breaking the houses and shit. Vulnerability is weakness, and showing happiness is like, you don't get to be happy.
Yeah.
So like, I fully understand that for that young lad.
Yeah. And for me, I knew I'm still reasonably young in that area. I can understand. So I knew what he was doing, and he didn't have no mates around to sort of to need to show that. But I still understood it, and I suppose from there it was just like the next week there was just more and more coming through, and I still help out at a high level and a racer level. But this area for me, this is cool. I get more enjoyment from seeing the kids coming through that start from not really believing in themselves and not really trusting that this is going to help them, to then them leaving like, when can we come back? So it was really cool for us to be able to sort of try and get into that area, and it just aligned at the perfect time for us being able to try and get like all of this, the event for fundraising and stuff, and working with Youth in Search, and that all just happened within the last 12 months. So
That's so cool, man.
We've been working with Youth in Search for the last 12, I'd say 2 years now.
Yeah.
This is coming into our third, and this is our third event with them. But the whole 12-month thing has been just all of the kids that we've seen from that just starting to come in now. So, and I feel like that anyone can do it. Like, it doesn't have to be, if you have an interest, just try it, or try a sport that's got some type of adrenaline or that type of a stimulant release that they can have on
Yeah, dude.
being able to try and just get themselves to do something different, but do it in a controlled environment and do it the right way. Like, there's opportunities. I think that more people need to show the opportunities of how they can get involved, and that's something that I'm really pushing at the moment. So, especially with my background in history and moto. So,
100%, man. I think that's such a beautiful thing that you can actually now use your passion
yes,
to help these young men, right?
yeah.
And so, like, I guess you've worked with a fair few young men right now. At this point in time, you've been coaching and nurturing and mentoring for a little while now, especially working with these troubled kids.
Yeah.
From your perspective, what do we need to do as a community, as a society, to actually be able to create real change in the lives of these young men?
I feel like taking that step back, like we we're talking about, and understanding the root cause of all of this, and being able to try and, obviously everyone's situation is different, but just knowing generally that there's something going on. Like, how can we like as a community, or how can we as a group come together to be able to go, right, he's got something going on in the background. It doesn't really matter what it is at the moment. We just need to be able to try and figure out how we can get him into an area where we can then, I suppose, do it properly, take the right steps to be able to get them to just come and do something like a program or
Riding motocross, for
riding
instance, with you
motocross.
guys,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, and then, eventually those problems might just be a little bit more transparent with them maybe having a chat or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful, right? It opens the pathway for them to actually have the opportunity to have those conversations.
Yeah.
Because especially like with what you're doing is like relatability.
Yeah.
The kids, I'm sure you would have seen this, where they start to open up to you a little bit more, right?
Yeah. And you can't just go in there straight off the bat and go, what's happening? Like, it's not going to work. They're going to, straight up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's giving them that release to start with, showing them that they can earn your trust and things like that, and then being able to build a relationship to the point when then they can start to go, this is what was going on, like, this is why I was doing it, and now they start to see a little bit of a brighter side to things, and better choices can be made, and that's I think there's definitely a way, like that sort of pattern of how you can try and get into the conversation. But I think that just being able to initially have more programs and opportunities for kids that are in troubled situations, advertise it as something that we can try and get them involved in at minimal cost, of just trying to get the a foundation on board or something like that can assist, or even if it's government, that there's opportunities there for these kinds of backings to help try and fund this type of stuff. I try to do as much as I can that's non-for-profit in running, every now and then, like we did on the weekend, something that's just available for everyone to come out and enjoy. But yeah, as we know, things are hard. I think the most hardest thing at the moment is the expensive things, and that's what people are struggling with, or kids and youth are struggling with, is that costs too much. Like, I can't do that. Like,
or how can I get the money? Maybe I'll go steal a car, sell a car. Or maybe I'll sell some drugs, right? Because especially the kids coming from these backgrounds, it's like, how do they go about getting the money?
Yeah, and that's why I feel like government and community and businesses that can do something.
Because there's plenty of businesses out there that have the abundance of resources to be able to actually support something like this, right?
Yeah, and like, it doesn't take much to try and just put a few people together to try and do something, because there's opportunities there that kids need to be able, or youth in general need to be able to try and break all of this crime and all of this, if they really wanted to put their heads down instead of jumping on the keyboards and putting comments on social media about the kids.
Dude.
And
yeah. You look on the Channel 7, right? The Channel 7 reports when they're talking about kids stealing cars, and it's like, lock them up, throw away the key. These kids are pieces of shit.
Man, I'm just like,
yeah, man,
dude, like, now you put some research behind all of that. I'll send them. I feel like sometimes I'd be wasting my time with these types of people until you pull them into a one-on-one situation. And replying back to them is probably no good.
Exactly.
But they just need to be informed. They need to be educated. I think if everyone did that, they'd probably end up being able to find okay, maybe now we can create an opportunity. Like,
Yeah. What can we do together, right? Rather than sitting here talking about the problem, whinging about it, let's actually find a solution.
Yeah.
Rather than being so problem orientated, let's be solution focused.
for sure. And yeah, I think people just they're so quick to judge on that. It's so hard
Yeah.
for people like you and I to just see it and just go, all right, well, we're gonna put our heads down and try and do something. So
Well, that's exactly right, man. Like, I want to really talk into that for a second. You're one man, like you run a one man band, really, right, with your coaching.
Mhm.
How many kids have you helped in the last 12 months? If you had to like
In that
quantify
area?
it, yeah, a number.
I'd say at least 50 in the area of just one-on-one.
And that's just these troubled kids, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
50 kids that you've helped in the last 12 months as a one man band.
Mm.
So this is actually the point I want to touch on for everyone listening in. This is one man that's made a difference with 50 kids. And it might not sound like much in a grand scheme of things, but think about that. Like, for all the resources we have available, all the people out there that run businesses, all the people out there that do have the time, energy, and resources to be able to support this. This is why we haven't seen it change, is because people aren't putting their heads together. If one man can do, help 50 kids, what's stopping us from putting 10, 15 people together to be able to actually support this cause? And so, bro, like, honestly, like, with the work that you're doing an amazing thing, man.
I appreciate it, bro.
And the thing is, it's not just the one kid you're helping. The ripple effect of that affects all the other kids around him.
Mm.
Because if you see one kid, right, like I remember when I was, a child, when I was a young man, and I'd see Johnny doing something. I'm like, I want to do what he's doing.
Yeah.
And the ripple effect was like, well, if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me. So the fact that you're helping these young men also gives the others hope.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the ripple effect of that directly impacts the whole community.
Yeah. It's, you see it positive and negative. If one guy's doing it in the group, then they follow.
Of course.
And,
Of course. But hey, who doesn't want to be out there shredding bikes? Like, just like hitting jumps and just like,
Yeah.
Oh, bro.
It was good to see you back on one the other day.
Bro, I'll tell you right now, I still feel safer jumping out of a plane. Legit. I feel safer jumping out of a plane than I do riding a dirt bike, bro. Because with a dirt bike, you've got so many things to think about. But think about that, right? Even just another thing to think about with the dirt bike side of things and getting kids on there.
Yeah.
It forces them to be present. It gets them into that flow state.
Yeah.
It's like just that creative energy they can be in, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And, further into that journey of what you and I do with the breathwork side of things,
Yeah.
they're automatically doing that inside their helmet, just, coming into sections of track and stuff
Having
like
to stay
that.
calm and
just having
whatnot.
to, trying to work on those, I suppose, those natural instincts of what the body's going to be doing inside their helmets and stuff like that is, I think there's so many benefits, but I definitely would not be jumping out of a plane anytime soon. I'll put it that way.
Never say never, brother. Never say never. Now let's talk into the event a little bit. So obviously we've got the 24-hour challenge coming up that you're going to be a part of as well. So the Change for Good challenge. We're very, very excited about that, which is the 4-hour run, 4-hour downhill mountain bike, 4-hour gym workout, 4-hour pack march, 4-hour open water kayaking session. Which one are you looking forward to the most?
I'm a runner, man. I'm a runner, but
He's a runner. He's a track star, baby.
But yeah, the run. I'm definitely keen for the march. I don't know. I haven't kayak or anything like that for.
Okay. Well, then talking to that, which one are you fearing the most? Which one are you worried about the most?
Probably the kayak. I seen the video and I was thinking, if I just had like a tumble in that wave, I'd be done.
Yeah, no. So we're actually, so the open water kayaking, we're not actually doing in the ocean for that reason.
Right, yeah.
Because it's the last event.
Yeah.
Right.
I was thinking after 24 hours and doing that, you'd be,
we'll be in Currumbin Creek, so it'll be flat.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've actually had to move the event times forward, so it should be daylight as well. Originally it was going to be at night.
Yeah.
So,
that would have been.
Yeah, Surf Lifesaver wasn't too happy about supporting us in that, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
But mate, we're so stoked to have you on board and to see you getting involved with that. So
keen.
if people want to find you, where can they find you, bro?
Gaven Heggs 194 or Twist It Moto. So just all social media platforms.
And I'll put all your links below in the notes.
Thanks, fella. I appreciate
course,
that.
my bro.
But thanks again for having me, and hopefully we can make a difference.
No, I think that we definitely can, bro. You already are. As am I, bro. It's just about now trying to get that out there, to do that on a bigger scale, man. So thank you for the amazing work you're doing, bro.
Thank you, brother.
Appreciate you, brother.